I am almost certain Megumi is perhaps one of the most hated and simultaneously loved characters within the series of Jujutsu Kaisen. I've seen folks calling him a bum, and others just praising and waiting on his eventual return, so let's look into it.
Sometimes you gotta close the door to open a window.
Also, by the way, thank you for all the well wishes on the recent announcement of my baby girl's gender. It is very, very exciting times, and you guys have given me a crazy opportunity with this YouTube stuff. So thank you. Anyways, Megumi's reputation has been in tatters recently. I have seen a lot of stuff going on with this dude here, and for a good chunk of the series, Megumi's entire goal was to help his sister and unravel the case that was trapping her within a coma, essentially. We do eventually come to find out that this was due to Kenjaku placing this absolute psycho in her body. An underrated psycho, might I add. I actually really enjoyed Yorozu's character, but we ended up waiting for his remote activation of Idol Transfiguration for this to come into fruition. But even outside of all of this, Megumi's fights throughout the series have mostly just consisted of him getting his ass handed to him, getting his ass beat, and going to summon mahoraga, or trying to, and then rinse repeat especially. It wasn't really until his fights in the Culling games, and especially with Reggie, where I felt Megumi sort of came into his own in terms of not just jumping to the summon of mahoraga. For him to not do that throughout the Culling games, it was a pretty big deal. However, the fraudulent allegations, they definitely didn't cease, and if I'm being brutally honest here, there are points in the stories that I've kind of come to dislike. I was gonna say hate, but dislike seems more suited for this. Dislike Megumi for certain actions, while also being sympathetic and empathetic to his character and his plight and his story. It's a very complicated mess. I mean, this dude spent the entire series trying his best to free his sister, and when he finally did it, it led to the worst chain of events in Jujutsu Kaisen history that literally changed everything. Like, literally everything. The reveal that Sumiki wasn't who we thought she was insane. The fact that we found out she was a sorcerer who was named Yorozu, it absolutely broke Megumi. It broke him. And again, like every single thing that Megumi has gone through in this series, this was to eventually free his sister. Everything else in the series to him was secondary. Like, it was basically secondary to him. So when we arrived at chapter 212 and the enchain bind involved that big moment, it completely fucked him up. Not only mentally, but physically. Ironically, also, by the way, right here, he did try to summon mahoraga against Sukuna, but Sukuna just said, nope. Yeah, it was in sheer desperation before having his body just absolutely snatched from him here. And from this point on, Megumi is out of the story. He is a passenger. He is a witness to Sukuna's antics and fucking terrorism of the Jujutsu Kaisen world. And the first thing on the chopping block here would be Megumi witnessing and watching as Sukuna simply just bodied Yuji viciously, bodied Maki, and then proceed to body Angel in just brutal fashion with his own case technique. I mean, he was trying to fight it. He was trying to his best to put up a fight here, but he then had to watch as Sukuna went on to kill his own sister. This dude spent a good chunk of the series, as I've said now multiple times, trying his best to free Sumiki. And then when she was freed from the coma, it turned out she was not Sumiki. And then he had his body snatched and was forced to watch as Sukuna and Yorozu went through this weird Mr. and Mrs. Smith fighting with each other and planning on marriage in the event that Yorozu might have won her fight against Sukuna, only to watch Sukuna end her life. And it didn't stop there. No, it didn't stop there. It got worse. It got a lot more worse for Megumi, my boy here, because he then had to sit back and watch in pure terror and fear as Sukuna not only used his body, but also his soul against his will in the fight with Gojo, and eventually kill Gojo because of that. The man who had raised this dude and cared for him ever since he was a little kid. So yeah, Megumi, he's had some serious fraudulent allegations put against his name here. The pinnacle of all of this, it was simply this one event here. It was him coming face to face with Yuji inside the soul realm, the soul palace, call it what you want. And as Yuji told him he needs to wake up, Megumi simply crumbled. He just said, enough. I don't want to do this anymore. Zero will to live, zero effort to fight back, zero morale, zero bitches, zero everything. Like, this dude, this moment right here, this is the moment that a lot of folks, myself included, genuinely believe and consider to be Megumi's greatest fumble within the series. And as I mentioned before, I somewhat agree and disagree. I kind of dislike Megumi for this, but I also sympathize with him, like, pretty heavily. Like, I feel sympathetic for Megumi, but annoyance at him at the same time. Like, the chain of events he went through would quite easily break 99% of the population, especially even within Jujutsu Kaisen. we watched Yuji go through almost the exact same thing, but he ended up getting back up when Todo approached him and gave him the little pep talk. I mean, Megumi watched as Yuji and Yuta fought tooth and nail, poured blood, sweat, and tears to try and release Sukuna's clutches on him enough Megumi could get up and fight back. And then when they finally got to that point, Megumi just couldn't do it. He couldn't answer the call. And I think it stings even more because of something that Megumi said to Yuji way back when. Start by saving me. That was a line. That was what we see Megumi saying to Yuji at the beginning of the Culling Games here. And as we see everything that's happened after even Megumi saying this, Megumi chose to not answer the call of his friends who are literally risking their lives to do so here to get him out. I mean, had Megumi got up here and chose to fight back, Yuta may have never took such a severe attack from Sukuna, and thus he may have never had to take over Gojo's body in order to fight Sukuna a second time, which is a truly wild chain of events. Megumi has been at the sort of center of a lot of big moments that have just branched out and changed the timeline of Jujutsu Kaisen. But again, once again, this is Megumi, and he watched it all unfold and happen. But there is a good side to this. There is a good side. It might not be the end. He might be able to redeem himself. Not entirely, but he might be able to redeem himself, because you see, Megumi and Yuji now share a common ground. They both have had their bodies stolen and taken over and used for Sukuna's simple amusement and willingness to fight anyone and everything. But Megumi as a Jujutsu sorcerer was something that Sukuna had taken notice of, like the earliest in the series, even acknowledging Megumi by his full name, which, as we know nowadays, that's a thing that only Sukuna does to the people who he respects. When he respects his opponent's ability and their potential, he calls them by their full name. He's done it for Gojo, he's done it for Higuruma, he's done it for Megumi, he's done it for Yuta. He's done it for a couple of people within the series here, and all of which have all impressed him in some way. But just like Yuji, Megumi has experienced Sukuna's power and how he controls cursed energy and how his curse technique works. Meaning, just like Yuji, Megumi will naturally have gained a buff passively from being used as a host by Sukuna. So when Yuji does eventually free Megumi, I genuinely expect him to return with an immense amount of power. And if I had to go one step further beyond here, due to the amount of consistent time Megumi has spent under Sukuna's control here, I mean, you have to look at it this way. Yuji had been taken over by Sukuna, like, what, twice? And he gained all of this kind of power that he has right now. I mean, he's arguably right now a top tier within the series. If you give this dude a domain expansion, he's a problem for a lot of fighters within this series. Now, on the other hand, we have Megumi, who has been under the control and complete and utter influence of Sukuna for over 2 months now, continuously. And within those 2 months, we have seen Sukuna fight a lot. I mean, he fought nearly to the death with Gojo, and that was an insane fight. So it wouldn't surprise me if Sukuna had somehow had his technique engraved onto Megumi's soul throughout all of this, because we saw Yuji use Sukuna's cleave in where he needed to touch an object in order to cut something, but Megumi has experienced literally perfecting the world slash soul. I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if Megumi returned with the dismantle to Yuji's cleave and they ended up tag teaming Sukuna. That would be something that I would love to see, genuinely. Anyways, that's enough for me. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments down below. You think Megumi is completely cooked? You feel for him? You think he's a bum? Let me know in the comments down below. And once again, thank you for all the love on the announcement. Oh, my baby girl. Truly means a lot. You guys genuinely don't understand the opportunity you've given me simply just by being here and watching me waffle about a manga that I truly love. It is insane. Truly. Anyways, that is everything from me. If you've not already, please be sure to like and subscribe, as it really does help your brother out. And I'll catch you guys all in the next one. Much fucking love. Big fucking kisses. Make sure to go tell someone you love them. Go drink some fucking water, and I'll catch you guys all in the next one. Peace.